Running Sentences presents The Long Road to Get Home, Part 8. Into a New Fight. Entering into the ball, the group ventured attempts to lift the spell holding it to that realm. This story is written and narrated by Michael Harring. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional ones is purely coincidental. Copyright 2024, Michael Harring. All rights reserved. Their eyes opened, half expecting to see the figure of the drunken sailor still standing in front of them. The other half was sure that everything would simply go missing in front of them, and there would be nothing there. The whole tent-like city would be gone, and there would just be nothing there. A wave of sticky heat had come over them, which was a lot different from the cold desert morning that they'd been in, so it gave them a little hope, and a glance around brought plenty of green plants into sight, along with insects happily making noises that they made. "Step carefully. Why, Langer? The ground is pretty mucky, Barn. How did you not notice that, or slightly sinking into it? Not all of us are light on our feet, Langer." "Yeah, but you're still sinking slightly. It doesn't take much to notice the trees and the plants seem to be off from where we were a second ago, and that sensations are weird, eerie." There was some foot shuffling as they pulled themselves up and moved about a bit, all to keep themselves above ground and looking about. "Well, we need to figure out where we are. The ball? Well, yes, that is one answer. Yes, Claudia. Do you even trust your friend, though? He could have sent us off to another side of the world." "Unlikely, but there is always a chance he might have done that. He could. He probably wouldn't risk it, though, since he thought the orb was so dangerous." "Well, shall I go look around, boss?" "Yes, and take someone with you, Langer. I don't want trouble in you vanishing in the same moment." "Wasn't going to vanish." With a shake of his head and a nod to Caddy, the two disappear around a few plants and trees. They were soon swallowed up, with no one able to make out a trace of them. "Geez, can you cast some sort of spell giving us an idea of where we are?" "I don't have a spell doing that, but I'll chat with the god and see if they'll help." Keith then sat down cross-legged for a moment with closed eyes, while the rest keep weary eyes on the situation. "What's the plan here, boss?" "We need to find out where the spell seal is and unlock it. That's what I got from the weird friend that Claudia has, Erie. We were all there, though, so I thought we all were aware of what we were doing." "My friend is weird, but he will help us and protect us while he can. If something happens outside, though, who knows?" "Like everything lately, we seem to be in a bit of a time crunch. It is what it is, though. Let's figure out where we are." "And all of this might have been avoided if we had just not taken the job, Barn." "Maybe, but then we'd probably be fighting an undead general, and someone else would have taken our place, so..." Yeah, still should not have taken it." A rustle in the leaves drew their attention to the right. And a second later, Langer came out, and Caddy was following him, both drenched in sweat as they came over. "Please tell me you haven't been running away." "Huh? What do you mean, Claudia?" Caddy asked. "Do we look like we've been running?" "A little bit, Langer, yes, a little bit." The two would glance over themselves, and over at one another, taking the time to the realization of what was causing all the talk about them. "Oh, no, we took a lap around us, and spotted a clearing up ahead with a giant sword-like thing sticking out of the ground, but we weren't running." "A thing?" "I don't know how to describe it, boss. Maybe a blade-like thing? Sword? Yeah, it's weird." "Well, there's no response from the gods, so what are we doing?" Keith rose from his spot, dusting himself off and looking around for answers. He raises his eyebrows at the sight of Caddy and Langer, but shook it off while he waited for his answer. "There's a spot that we noticed a decent distance away that might help us in some direction." How would it do that, Carrie? Well, boss, it's the only thing around here that stands out from the rest. Unless you want to wander around these woods, it's the only thing we can really go towards. And so, guys, are we going to go towards it, or do you have some other plans? Langer asked them. The group had begun to move without waiting for an answer to that question. Caddy stepped into the lead to lead them away. One by one, the group moved in a line through the heavy plants and trees that tangled this area up. The humidity had them all sweating as time slipped by, and they just kept walking and walking. How far do we have to go to get to this thing? Not entirely sure. It looked far away, but it could be closer, Claudia. It's hard to tell since this place is weird to be in, Langer offers. I hope for all of our sake that it is close by. Traveling in this weather is drowning me, Barn would grumble. Caddy, who was in the lead, cleared her throat. There is a clearing right up ahead where we can rest for a moment. Resting when we need to move isn't going to do much either. The grumbles from Barn, though, were ignored by everyone. Their feet clattered onto a wide stone pathway that cut its way through this forest. It took them a few seconds to get used to this change and the fact that it cut a wide swath straight towards that stone blade-looking obelisk in the distance. We didn't see this path. How could you not see this path? It's giant and it destroys part of the forest, Eerie questioned Langer. Well, Eerie, while we were looking up on a little hill, these woods were deep and blocked much of the view. As Caddy says, that's my excuse. Now, the question is, do we rest or keep moving? That thing appears to be a lot closer now, but I also don't trust my own vision at the moment, since this place is fucked up. We keep moving. Let's not waste any more time that we don't have. Barnes' steps are quick, as his words press onward with the rest following a few moments later. The walk to get there wasn't a long one, thankfully, and it would soon find them standing in front of what looked to be a dagger, blade down, buried deep. Though it stretched upwards into the sky, looking even bigger than they'd expected now that they stood in front of it, and there were a few sigils glowing in the nearby sky, connected to one another, that they could now clearly see. I know we expected something to occur once we got here, but I'm not sure what, Caddy calls out. Shouldn't there be demons or something around here to greet us, or try and destroy us, or... What is this place? Normally, yes, probably, Langer, but the locks are on the inside, holding it to this realm, so whoever is in control may not want to leave, and who knows? Eerie says, staring up at the giant blade. The ground rumbles and shakes for a moment, enough to reverberate through them but not knock them about. They all look to the stone structure, expecting something to have happened to it, and to their satisfaction a narrow-looking gap forms near the base. Let's get ready for anything, Barn shouts out. When the rumble ceases, a door passageway sits there, looking dark and ominous. None who ventured took to standing around or staring at it. There was a decent enough chance that a small, evil-like creature could invisibly leave that hole. Eyes up, I'm casting an orb of self-defense, so stay somewhat close to me. Who is out there? We are a group of people wishing to talk to the creatures in here, Barn announces. Why? Well, we need help against an undead general, Sir Voice, and his hordes that are terrorizing our realm. Why would I help you with that? And who even is this general you're so worried about? Wouldn't you like to be free for a while, tasting fresh air and the powers that come with it? The general is Asmodeus Krull. There was a long pause as they waited for a response. You want me to come out of my slumber to destroy some fool? Yes, in another realm, if you don't mind, Eerie said. I won't do it. Why not? Haven't you slept for long enough? I'm guessing, Eerie, that defeating a creature isn't what he's interested in. Eerie glances towards Claudia, who'd taken a few sure steps towards the opening. The grin on Claudia's face, making her nervous, since it was hard to tell what she was up to. Exactly. I have nothing to gain from this. Why bother even helping? What do you want? What are you after, demon? Barn quizzed to try and get the answer. I have a name. Why don't you start there to prove you've come in good faith? They look on to one another for a moment, and then hurriedly huddle together, whispering to one another. We don't have a name, do we? No, we don't, Keith, Barn said. Do you think he'd agree to a guessing game then, boss? I doubt it, Langer, Eerie added. We have to do something. Claudia, you seem to know stuff about this place. What's up with him, and who is he? Barn, did the person who hired you tell us anything more about this bowl than... Langer hurriedly said. I've never seen him, and I don't get the sense that they're ancient, so I don't look to me for answers, was Claudia's response. And the person who hired us only said that there would be an army of creatures, and that we shouldn't open the bowl until we were back home. Oh, great, that's great to hear, Barn. Once we are all inside of a damned bowl. Why let us go in here if you knew that? Because, Caddy, it potentially saves the day when we get back home. We took a risk like we always do. Sadly, not as calculated as usual, but it is what we do. There's a low rumble, and I glance towards the rocky stone. Have you come up with an answer yet? My patience is wearing thin. Could you give us a small hint to help us along the way? Langer asked for. No. Well, then we don't have an answer yet, and you will have to be patient, Langer said. I don't have to be anything. A further rumble shakes the ground as a big, hardy-looking skeletons begin to clamber out of the ground, all around the stone obelisk, digging their way out. Let's see if you can at least fight, since you know nothing. Fuck, spread out and take them out. Barnes' lithe rapier pulled out after issuing the order and sprints a bit away from the group. Is it okay if I vanish now? Never, Langer, never. But it is what I do. Eerie turns to where Langer's voice had been and shook her head. He was already gone. She readies her axe for the closest skeleton, ambling its way towards her. It didn't have a weapon, but its long, bony white arms swung towards her. She put up her axe blade towards it as the bones crashed into it. There was a terrible scraping sound, followed by a crunch and the hand separating from the rest of the skeleton. Take that! The hand, though, even though it had fallen away and towards the ground, now jumps up and scampers back over to the giant body of bones, and soon fusing its way back onto the body where it once had been. Bad news. They aren't going to be easy to kill. What do you mean, Eerie? Well, the bones are held together by magic and can rejoin. Keith, this seems like a great time for one of your spells, Eerie said to Claudia and Keith. A spark of what looks to be electricity flashes through the air, striking at a nearby skeleton enemy. The figure collapses, and then suddenly, as it has fallen apart, it begins to build itself back up. Take this, Claudia calls out. A red orb smashes into the bones as they were assembling themselves, absorbing for a second before turning into a bright flash of light. then as the light fades, the creature almost looks like it was being healed by the spell, but the scraps of organs and tissues begin to fall out. We're trying to destroy them, not heal them, Claudia. But that's what this spell generally does. It sunders my enemies with heavy magic, tearing them apart.
It isn't complicated, Barn.
These creatures are probably undead, though. Your magic is dark, isn't it? Dark on dark generally heals instead of damages. None of this helps us at the moment.
Claudia and Keith.
Attack or find some place to hide. Where did Caddy go to? A glance around by Eerie shows that their archer had also vanished from sight. Things were not getting any better as more of these creatures were now beginning to clamber out of the ground all around them. What had been 4 were now 8, and there appeared to be another 2 also beginning the journey of getting out of their graves. Fuck this, make a break for it. To where, Barn? The stone pillar? These creatures won't let us pass,
Keith complained.
An arrow slams into the back of the skull of the nearest opponent, causing it to explode into fiery ash. With the head gone, it now crumples to the ground, unmoving. Another arrow follows to a new bony skeleton with a similar result. This followed by a short sword flying from the trees. Move already, you 4,
Langer shouted from his hidden spot.
God damn it, Caddy, tell us before you do something if you're going to disappear. Blame Langer for that. He's the one who pointed towards a nearby tree, and you were distracted. Fine, yell at me later. Right now, though, I have more important pressing matters to deal with, right?
Langer said, trying to smooth the situation.
Another few arrows fly from the bow of Caddy as the group make a break for the stone structure. It was only a few feet away, but still skeletons were in the way. Hit them and knock them down as we go. They fall apart easily, so let's just use that against them,
Barn ordered.
They charged forward, swinging their weapons and casting a few magic spells towards the bones. Most went down with the first blow. A few managed to stay up, but were soon cut down by either an axe or a rapier. Eerie, on her way past, grabs up the short sword and arrows as she goes. Langer and Caddy both dropped down from some trees and were running towards the stone as the ground rumbled. You guys need to hurry. That goes without saying, Caddy. Barnes smashes another skull with his rapier as he passes by the last few, but turned to make sure the rest of the group were doing okay. Claudia was the only one struggling as a hand had grabbed her foot, but it was unattached to any arm or anything like that, and she was mostly slowing herself, trying to shake it off. Don't worry about me, that stupid hand won't stop me. The rumble of the stones was growing stronger as they all rushed inside well before it was going to close. They had to turn and watch to make sure these creatures weren't able to follow, and a few tried, but now the door was mostly closed with a few bony arms reaching out, only be crushed when the door finally did close and plunge them into darkness. Well, what now? Are we stuck in a room with a demon voice, or is this a trap that will soon be our own tomb because we're idiots?
Eerie asked rhetorically.
They wait for a moment to see what would happen as the darkness swirled about them. It felt like it was getting colder in the space, with everyone trying to huddle closer, but they weren't actually all that close to one another since they couldn't find one another in this darkness. They swore they weren't right next to one another, but now they couldn't really tell. The rest of you are in here, right? Yes. The sound of Claudia's voice was quite a bit of ways away from Keith, which was weird. He tried to orient himself in the darkness towards where he thought she was coming from. Do you think that means you've passed my test? You haven't answered my question, and my soldiers will soon open the door. Help us and we will leave. Don't and we will wreck this place.
Barn shouts out.
Feeble threats by an apparent leader. I can wait you out and you will die soon. The voice of the demon sounded closer, while Barnes was far away, sounding distant to Keith, which was very disorienting. I cast an aura of flames. A spark of flames rise around him, cutting into the dark. It circled around Keith, looking at the shadows, but it didn't make them go away completely. He was now able to see his friends, though they were spread out around him and not really close by. They, however, did not see him, from the way they were just looking around and didn't seem to notice his spell. You think a minor spell will do anything? Well, it helps me see the world around me, and it's all I need. So I should kill you first then, Mr. Magician. Well, you can try, but you won't have much of an effect on me. Who are you talking to, Keith? The damn demon. I think he's in my head talking to me,
Keith explained to Claudia.
The flames he'd created begin to wither and smoke as wind whips up. Keith braces himself as it grows heavier and heavier and pushes at him. Well, if you could figure out a way to get him out here so we can talk to him instead of just being a voice or nothingness, we'd like to talk to a creature. This is all rather pointless if he won't talk to us, and I mean all of us. I don't know what to do,
Claudia.
Give in. Let the flames take you away. You're dousing my fire with winds. How would I even let the flames take me away in that case? I have done nothing to your aura of flames, and know nothing of what you're saying. Keith takes a few glances about to try and see if there was anyone else here. The room, though, was black, and that provided no great view of anything. Who else is in here? There has to be two of you, since one of you is stopping my magic and the other one claims they're not. I am a friend, a foe, and an eternal being that haunts these grounds. Ghost, you shut up right now. You're not allowed to be in here. And yet here I am, where I'm not supposed to be. All the way from my own little hiding-away stone structure. Pity you suck at keeping things out. Well, Mr. Ghost, if you don't mind me interrupting, we're here to seek help. Oh, I already know why you're here. I heard you loud and clear when you were talking to my associate here. What do you offer me that would entice me to accept such an offer? You cannot unlock the seals by yourself. Well, no, I can't. But it only takes two to do so, and there are three of us in here. You think the ever-bored Stroon will turn down the opportunity to get out? You wouldn't go to him, he hates you. Well, so do you, yet here we are talking like your average demonic beings, negotiating over who goes where. Can I talk, or... What is it, little human? What is the problem now? I wanted to know what you want out of all of this. What are you seeking in return? Oh, I don't know, actually. Perhaps a little fun, a little possession of something to shake up the world we've trapped ourselves in for a little while. And, why are you trapped in here when you have access to get out?
Keith asked nervously, looking about to see if his friends were hearing any of this, but they did not appear to be.
Because we can never agree with one another. Yes, we're all so tied to one another. The rules we apply to ourselves for our destructive power to keep things in check. One doesn't want to make things an endless void of nothingness. And, destroy entire realms. Because that's what we would do, potentially, if we weren't kept in check. His friends now were gathering around as Keith looks upwards, with the thought that he was pretty sure that the two were up there. He wasn't entirely sure, and waved to his friends to be silent so he could listen, though they did not appear to hear them. It will be great when we get out of here, though, for something interesting, but this is not that. Not at the rate we're going. You don't want to leave, and Stroon wants to leave at the slightest of moments. This might be a great opportunity for us. Then it comes down to this group of adventurers interrupting our lives. Well, only me, really, though, since I'm the only one who can hear you. Why am I the only one? Well, he chose you because he thought he could do what he wanted, and that was kill you. Do you have to tell everything to everyone who comes by? Yes, why not? Tell them everything, Carnage. What are you so afraid of? Oh, your name is Carnage. Great! We've passed your first puzzle. Will you help us out now? No! There was a flash of light splitting the room from darkness into light and followed the ground, shaking for a few moments. And then the ability to see returned. A tall, dark, fiery figure was before them, stretching at least 10 feet high. Its armors glowed embered spots, as if cooling from the flames it had just been in. The figure, though, itself, this potentially Carnage, was well hidden behind all of its armor, with only its piercing eyes visible, with one yellow and the other a crimson orange. Well, group, apparently this is Mr. Carnage, the demon who doesn't want to help us. The other one, in my head, who I can't see yet, is Ghost, who may or may not be here at the moment. Will they help us? No, that's still a no, Barn. But, 2 of them might. Other 2?
Caddy asked.
The place is home to 3 demon-like creatures that say they want to destroy the world, and they like to stay in here because they don't want to cause maximum chaos when they do decide to depart. You will not pass any more tests. Okay, we don't want to pass by you. We want your help, sir. Our goal is to destroy a demon chasing down and destroying our world.
Langer would try and clarify.
You think we want to be heroes to your little scrap of humanity? We are demons and destroyers of such things. But this is a chance to forever be in the books of history. Your glory will be destroyed in the world of Everon if you don't do anything. You're supposed to destroy everything, but you're being beaten to it by another creature. Are you going to let such a thing stand? The hulking figure leans down face to face with Barn, who was glowering as best he could at it, although the bright eyes really did unnerve him. The stillness of the air was only interrupted by the occasional crackling noise as embers on the suit of Carnage go out. Everon holds no special place in my heart, nor in the books, future or past. It dies its death. And what of you, Mr. Ghost, if you're in here? Do you want to be lost to the ages because a continent or realm wasn't to your liking? A small problem, but not a me problem. Besides, we can always go at a later date and fix things to our liking. By fixing things, you mean taking over or actually being helpful?
Langer found himself asking.
Whatever makes the most sense at the moment, Mr. Thief. You look like a thief. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have another creature that needs to be talked to. Stroon won't listen to you, Ghost. If Ghost was in the room, he now appeared to have vanished and gone away. Is there a reason you're afraid to go out there and face the world, Mr. Demon Carnage?
Eerie said.
I am not afraid, little one.
But you are reticent and don't want to go.
It isn't worth it to do what you're asking of me.
And why not?
The questions from Caddy and Eerie from before were now growing, frustrating the demon, who was growling and looking towards them. Those last few questions just not sitting well with them. Because? Because why?
Caddy interjected.
If we leave here before we are ready, then the powers contained in this vessel might escape, and those powers will destroy things. All things good and evil. I don't want to destroy myself in the process.
So that's how you plan to destroy the realms? Letting loose? I mean, isn't that what you actually really want? Barn would inquire.
No. We want something to rule over when we leave. Unbridled power going where it wants does not get us that.
Don't criticize my dwarf height, thank you.
No, you are a tiny little thing that doesn't understand. We want something to rule over, mister. When we leave, unbridled power going where it wants does not get us that.
Don't criticize my dwarf height. It isn't polite.
It isn't a criticism if it is true.
Back on track, Demon, Barn, everybody. You won't help us, but if the other two do, what are you going to do then? Try and stop them? Eerie points out. The embers had mostly faded back, making it hard to pick out the big creature in the darkness that it was hiding in. Half the room was still light, but there was still half in darkness. Although there was still some light coming from the burning fire of Keith's spell, but it too was mostly dying out.
I don't need to do anything at all. It would be fun to watch you fail and then them fail and then have all of the power to myself. I don't have to do anything in response.
Is that a promise? Barn inquired.
I don't need to make those sort of things. Now leave my chamber.
The ground rumbles, letting light spew from a nearby opening. Its brightness makes them pause for a moment, and then the whole lot of them begin rushing out, with Barn being the last one, straying for a moment at the door.
You're really not going to do anything. I have better things to do.
I'd ask what that was, but I doubt I care. The fresh air, if I could call it that, was a welcome change from the stuffy interior. Ventured only had a few moments to collect themselves before they spotted two stone-like figures moving towards them.
Are those the other two demons?
No idea, Caddy. I only had voices in my head, and, they didn't really look stone-like. Keith answers, sounding very unsure of himself.
Halt, you two creatures! You stone creatures! What do you want from us?
Eerie demands.
Well, I'm Ghost, the devilish demon who wants to be free. And I am Stroon, the prankster. You promised us freedom.
The stone statue-esque-like creatures were two different sizes, one massive and arching upwards as a sort of human centaur-like creature, and the other a smaller one, but still big goblin troll thing. Their eyes were the only thing that made them look alive, as there were beads of black with white stripes that danced about, taking in things. We're the group known as Ventured, looking to save a realm and the world of Everon. Are you willing to help us out? Barn stated. What is it we're getting in return for this?
Renown, fame, a different perspective on things,
Barn said to the demon ghost.
Not interested.
In those things, or in helping us out, sir? Keith's question made Stroon turn towards them.
Those things, they do nothing for me.
What is your request, then? What will get you to release the spell binding this ball to this realm and world? Barn requests. The two looked to one another and then turned, with the appearances of grins now stretching across the stone that made up their faces.
A kingdom. 2 kingdoms separate from one another?
Stroon demands.
Can you grant that to us?
With a frown, Barn nods to Ghost.
Yes, I can.
They both look towards Barn, grins widening as they get closer to them.
Do you believe him, Ghost?
No, only a liar would promise things like that, or someone desperate to save a world. That means we haven't a choice, though. Trust or distrust this group. I don't like choices that require me to think.
Oh, I've been thinking a long time about nothing happening, and no one coming to us, aside from a few here and there.
And I'm eager to get out of here, but I will leave it up to you.
Very well. We need one more promise to us to make sure it is worth it. Are you willing to make a deal, group known as Ventured?
What kind of deal?
Barn asks.
One that has the makings to let us do what we want. Can you promise us that?
While our dear leader is smart and intelligent and everything, the rest of us need a little more clarification on that front. What do you mean when you say that? During a fight? After a fight? Once you've claimed your prize? When are you going to do whatever you want? Eerie asked with trepidation after taking a step forward.
Both,
Ghost replied.
We want our world unharmed. Mr. Barn, that ain't gonna happen. In order to destroy this creature who wants to rule your realm, things will be harmed. Your world will be scarred, and in the end the chunk will belong to us.
It is up to you, though. Let us be free to do our job or lose your world. To me, it sounds like a simple choice. Ghost taunts. End of part 8 of The Long Road to Get Home. Thank you for listening.